Om. Greetings, Zenith Mystery School friends. This is your host, E.T., with another astrology video for you. Today, I'm going to be talking about the planet Saturn. Saturn is the great architect. He is the Father Time, also the Grim Reaper, who carries around his sheath, cutting away, cutting the harvest. Saturn was known to eat his children, probably because of fear of being overthrown. Saturn will always win in the end, and he is related to Shaitan, the Prince of Air, one of the masters, or the master of this world, the third dimensional world. Saturn represents limitation. The cult of Saturn runs heavy on planet Earth and has for many thousands of years. And this is where we get a lot of the child sacrifice. This is where we get the idea of Islamic people circling Mecca, the black box, the black cube, those Jewish people with their black cubes on their forehead. When you graduate from a university, you have the black cube of Saturn as a hat. This is all representing Saturn's cult, and Saturn has a strong cult here on planet Earth and maintains the majority of the population buys into the cult of Saturn. He is an imposter. He pretends to be the creator of this world, but he is not. There are bigger forces. So Saturn is known by its rings. There's levels to Saturn. It doesn't mean Saturn is a bad thing. In fact, all things are working for the ultimate good, but highly misunderstood. So there shouldn't necessarily be any fear with Saturn. One of the rites of passage through life is the Saturn return. This is when Saturn in the sky is directly conjunct your natal placement Saturn. And this really represents passage into adulthood. This can be quite a transit for people. It's when reality breaks in. It's really when we wake up from adolescence, from youthfulness, and we come into our maturity. Saturn represents maturity. He represents structure. He represents boundaries. Saturn's the Grim Reaper. Father Time will always win, right? With age, Saturn gets better. With age, Saturn becomes more of your friend, and you can use your own boundaries. You can use your own structure, your own discipline, your own paternal energies, father-like figure. And, Saturn is not all a bad rap. There's some really positive things about Saturn, specifically when in relation to Venus. Venus and Saturn are best friends, so that's interesting. Venus likes the structure of Saturn. Saturn says, these are my walls, this is my structure. The feminine needs or does well with the masculine space being held, right? Then the feminine can relax and can release and can be creative and not be worried about the root chakra survival stuff and come into the more creative and the more sacral energy, the life force energy, the nurturing energy, But this is through, first, the structure. So Saturn is actually a really positive planet, but there is a lot of fear and misconception with Saturn. And, although we are in the 3D and these things are real, physical barriers are real, things are real. We have this body. It's a structural thing. It's a physical barrier type of thing, you know, and that's what Saturn represents. Saturn rules over two signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. In Capricorn, it's much more enterprising, entrepreneurial. And in Aquarius, I would say it's much more dealing with, because it's an air sign, the mind, right? Boundaries of the mind, technology, you know, structure, but in Aquarius, so it's like genius. Aquarius is the sign of astrology. Aquarius is the sign of unconventionality. Aquarius is the sign of genius, you know. So I believe it was Saturn that castrated Uranus, his father. So of course, naturally, Saturn is very afraid of his own children, so he eats them. So you know, and then Jupiter comes along and gets smuggled away by his mother and comes back and overthrows Saturn once again. So this is the lineage of Uranus, Saturn, and eventually Jupiter, at least in the mythology. And this is very relevant in astrology because this energies, you can feel these energies. These are the characteristics of the planets as we know them. Wherever your Saturn is in the first part of life shows you where you perhaps lack discipline or structure, or need to be more structured, perhaps. And therefore, you know, Saturn's the planet of karma. Saturn brings heavy karma. It's a karmic planet. So the more you can be on Saturn's good side, the more he'll reward you. You know, everything comes around. Everything comes around once again. And the Grim Reaper waits. Father Time will get you, at least in this dimension, right? And that's also an illusion. It's also a part of the trap that we think this is real. We think this life, these structures, this home, these things are, you know, forever, and they're not. It's really an illusion. The spirit will live on. The elements will live on. All energy is recycled. Souls will come up and down and back again. And Saturn is just showing you the illusion, the temporary illusion of the third dimension. And, you know, it's a heavy karmic planet. So, you know, Saturn isn't necessarily a bad thing. Once you learn proper boundaries, once you learn proper discipline, once you learn proper structure, once you learn how to basically be your own father, you know, allow yourself the discipline. And that structure is necessary so that you can bring all the wonderful things that Venus has to offer, all the money, all the you know, assets, all the lovely things of Venus. So this is a little bit about the planet Saturn. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and watching me. It's been super fun to make these videos, and I will continue in the future. You guys book a reading with me anytime. I'm always happy to read for you. And I will see you again in the next video.